Guys, as we focus on relationships during this time, I want to warn you about the four things that that are guaranteed to ruin any relationship. Listen, this is based on research by Dr. John Gottman. I would encourage you to get his research or readings. Make Feel free to Google what I'm talking about this morning because I'm going to brief this. As you guys know, I like to keep it short and sweet and like dive right in and get to the point. I am talking a lot about relationships. One, because I'm offering a class called Think Your Way to a Better Marriage. And right now we're full and we're closed. And so I'm excited about what the group is learning and what they will learn over the next now 5 weeks. But I also wanted to just like pour out and share with people some of the things that we're going to talk about, but just things about marriage and relationships that frustrates us or cause us to struggle, because I honestly believe that relationships are the most important thing to all of us. And it is how we are, one, in relationship with ourselves, and then a reflection of the way we're having relationship with others that affect every area of our life. So to me, it's extremely important to be mindful and intentional about our love life, our friendships, our goals. Like, how are you showing up in these spaces? And it is certainly the one area in life that, like, there's no school for it. Well, it is now, but and I say it is now because I teach it and several relationship coaches teach it. But we didn't grow up going to school learning about relationships. We get just kind of get thrown into them and we're trying to figure them out. And it doesn't always seem like it's easy or work well. But I want to share with you today about Dr. Gottman's four things. He calls them the four horsemen that are guaranteed to ruin any relationship. And so the first one is criticism, right? How often do we criticize other people? And I like to say, how often do you criticize yourself? Because I really do believe that the way we treat others is some form of reflection of the internal way we're treating ourselves. So if you are one who criticizes a person, what you think about it? Do you criticize yourself? Is your internal voices always critical of what you do? And critical, like criticizing a person means like you're attacking the person, their personality, their characteristics. You're saying things, you're lazy, you never do whatever that is. Like criticizing will not make a person change. It may change the behavior for a moment and you feel pleased because you said that to criticize them. And I want you to think about this in terms of the way you talk to your children too, if you have children. But it's not changing them the way you want it to. It's changing their heart towards you. Because criticizing a person makes them feel attacked. It leads them to feeling resentful and defensiveness. And so think about how can those emotions help a relationship become better? They don't. So I need you to start thinking like, if you're a person who's very critical but you think that like the person you're dealing with, maybe they do need to change or help out more or be more supportive in the relationship, and you don't know how to communicate that without it coming off critical, I need you, one, to go back and watch yesterday's video where I talk about when you're communicating, you use I statements and you begin to learn how to communicate what you really need emotionally. So if you need support, say, hey, I need you to start cleaning your room, or I need you to pick up behind yourself, or I need you to help in the kitchen, or I need your help around the house, because it makes me feel devalued when you don't show up and you don't help. I need. So you take all the energy and focus off of them and their behavior and what they're doing, and you put it on you and what you're feeling, so that there is now an opportunity for true conversation and not people feeling attacked. The second thing that Dr. Gottman tell us about that we have to be super careful of, and he said this is the most dangerous one: content. Being content towards a person. And that's like when you show your partner that you really believe that you're better than them. Right? How many times have you done that by just being disrespectful, marking them, or they say something, you roll your eyes, or you like super sarcastic? I remember earlier in my marriage, I was always sarcastic. And I thought, oh, I'm just funny because I'm sarcastic. Until I learned that sarcasm is a form of anger, it's a form of disappointment. And at that time, I was disappointed in my husband. So I was always throwing little jabs. And so when I learned that, I thought, "Oh my god, like, I don't wanna do that." So that's a form of contempt. That is me that's toxic. It was me showing him that there was a part of me that really believed that I was better than him, and I did. So I had to learn to repent for that, and God began to move in my heart and show me that I was out of line. And so I had to, ask for forgiveness and change the behavior. True forgiveness, if I am asking for forgiveness and I really mean it, then that means I'm willing to change my behavior. I'm not going to keep showing up this way. And if I am showing up this way, I'm inviting you to correct me. Let me know because sometimes our life happens in patterns and cycles. So sometimes we're so conditioned to doing a thing that we can do it without the real awareness of what is causing or that we're moving in that way. So I want you to avoid at all times like building content towards your partner. So instead of being driven by thinking you're better than them or using toxic language towards them, build a culture of where you're appreciating the things they do. Have you ever considered just focusing on if they're your partner, you've been in a relationship with this person, there had to be something about them at some point in the relationship that you really appreciated or loved or admired. Try focusing on that. And then try being intentional about, regardless of the things they're doing, what you perceive that's wrong. Oh my God, he leaves his socks on the floor. He's forever, whatever your long list of things he do wrong. I want you to think about what are three things that you really appreciate about him? Like, is he a hard worker? Is he devoted to the family? Does he show up consistently with providing? Be appreciative of that. Say that to him. Because what I've learned in my marriage, and this is research as well, that the more a man hears you appreciate something, the more he will do it. I remember years ago, Andre made up the bed one morning. This is when we lived in China. And not to say he had never made up the bed, but this particular day, I think for a long time he had gone a while without making up the bed. And I wasn't saying anything about it because he left out of the house earlier than me. But I would often get up at like 5 in the morning for prayer meditation. And so he got up out of bed to get ready for work and he made up the bed. And it was like I was so touched. I was like, oh my God, you made up the bed. And I just kept making this big deal about him making up the bed. He has made up the bed ever since that time. And so when we show our partners that we appreciate them in a certain area, if you want to see them behave more in an area that you really do desire or need, show appreciation, not contempt. The third thing in the four horsemen, according to Dr. Gottman, is defensiveness. If you continue to always be defensive about everything, you are going to ruin your relationship. And so you might think, well, what if they say something to me? Listen, in every situation, good or bad, even if you're wrong, you probably still have some part or a part to play in in this situation, particularly in relationships. Come on, guys, like let's be honest. When we're in marriages, there are things that we can always do to help our partner, to aid our partner, to be a better partner to our partner, right? So instead of focusing on what they're doing wrong or blaming a person for every little thing, or if they ask you or correct you on something, instead of being defensive, yeah, I did it, but you did this, or I did it. Like one of the things I think is the worst form of refusing to accept responsibility is when I hear someone say, yeah, I cursed you out, but it was because you did this. No, you cursed me out because your character, your behavior, your thoughts, who you are, is okay with cursing someone out. When we shift the blame or focus on another person, that's being defensive. That's us refusing to take responsibility for ourselves and for our actions. And so, if you really want your marriage to change or your relationship to get better, start taking responsibility, ownership for your part in the problem, not just always deflecting. And the moment they tell you you've done something wrong or upsetting to them, your mind go into, well, these are all the things you do wrong. And so you want to list out their bad behavior because they're calling you on one of yours. Just apologize. Say, okay, I do that and I'm sorry. I will work on getting better. Don't do the tick for tat. When we do that, we do not build connection and intimacy. We build discontent and we cause strife in the relationship. And then the last thing, stonewalling. So when I first started reading this and researching, so when I was I really learned about this guy when I was in grad school. I had never really heard of the word stonewalling, but I have seen it. So stonewalling is when people shut down in a relationship. Like I've had conversations with couples where someone they will be in the same house and they go like weeks and not talk to each other, days and not talk. That's stonewalling. You shut down, you refuse to engage, you refuse to communicate, and you just go days. Like I'm gonna see if he talked to me first. Or I'm gonna see if she talked to me first. And so one day turned into 2 days to a week. Can you imagine like the energy of that having to go into that house where you're not being talked to? I had a roommate that did that to me before. She was very upset with me about something and she just refused to talk to me. And I said, well, what did I do? Will you just tell me? She says, I'm not going to tell you because you're not going to change. How did she know? How did she know that I didn't care enough to try to change? Because she just wouldn't tell me. We later, years after moving out, we reconciled that she said, "Oh, Kanisha, it was so petty." But the thing is, not because I'm perfect, right? Because I have my thing, but one thing I don't do is I don't stonewall because I can't stand for a person to not talk to me. I rather you curse me out so I know how you feel, what you think, but I'm not gonna not talk to you. I'm not gonna withhold my words from you. I will work really hard not to say the really mean things that are in my mind because I can be, wow, like I can be vicious with my tongue. And I know that. So, maybe in arguments or disagreements, I will go quiet because I'm withholding saying the really nasty thing. But I will not spend a day or hours not talking to a person. I can't do it. I like to talk, I like to communicate. So, stonewalling will ruin and destroy a relationship. It is damaging because it cuts off communication entirely. When one partner consistently withdraws, the other one feels abandoned and unheard. And when that happens, this can lead to feelings of frustration and hopelessness in the relationship. And we don't want that. We don't want to do that. So, how do we avoid it? If you're feeling overwhelmed, it's okay to take a break. It's okay to say, hey, can you give me 5 minutes? Can you even give me a day to discuss that topic? But I'm not going to not talk to you about other things. Like recently, really and truly, Andre and I had a conversation and it's a new thing for him. And he said, I need a couple of days to process it. And I was like, okay. The old me would have been like, what? You need a couple of days? Da, da, da. But I understand. Go back to yesterday's teaching where I talk about men contemplate and then articulate. That means they take their time to process out and think about what it is they want to say before they just blur it out. Where women, we just articulate. We clearly say what we want to say. And because we can articulate quicker, we think that makes us smarter or better, but it doesn't necessarily mean that. It just means that we're wired to get a thought and know how to communicate it. Where men are wired to get a thought and they want to ponder it, they want to think about it, they want to look at it all angles, they want to see how, if I do this, what outcome might come of it before they communicate what they're thinking. And so, because I know this now, I've learned to, when my husband says, I'm like, you want to talk about it? Nope. You want to talk about it? Nope. Now I'm like, he's contemplating. Okay. I just gotta be patient. I gotta wait till he decides he want to talk about it. And so that is how you avoid stonewalling and ruining your relationships. So just to sum it up, the four things, the four horsemen, according to Dr. Gottman, that will ruin every relationship: criticism, contempt, defensiveness, and stonewalling. I encourage you to get his books, learn how to recognize this in your relationships, and then do all you can to shift and change. If you are the person where listen, I'm married, I got a good person, but somehow we don't know how to communicate, we're not doing this well. If you need help with that, I am a relationship mindset coach. I believe that everything is just a thought away from goodness. And so reach out to me. I would love to work with you guys as a couple. We're offering classes now. My husband and I are working together. We're offering a class called Think Your Way to a Better Marriage. It is based on my book, and our next cohort starts in like 5 weeks from now, and I don't know the date. But inbox me if you're interested in learning more. And soon we will have the website up so that you can sign up if it's something you want to do. All right, talk to you later. Have a good one. Bye bye.